longer. Um, let's talk more about some prehistoric situations, some post-apocalyptic situations. All right. Scooby-Dooby-Doo, where are you? We got some work to do now. Scooby-Dooby-Doo, where are you? We need some help from you now.
Whoa. How did this happen? Who was he?
I do not know.
What did he want with us? We're nobodies. Did you kill him?
I did what had to be done.
Could have died. Never leave me alone again, all right?
All right.
You've had to kill people before, haven't you? You're used to it.
We do what we must to survive.
Animals, I get. They're food. Draugr, they're supposed to be dead. But people, they're trying to survive too.
Close your heart to it. On our journey, we will be attacked by all manner of creature. Close your heart to their desperation. Close your heart to their suffering. Do not allow yourself to feel for them. They will not feel for you.
I understand.
Snap.
Has this been here all this time? Why don't you help me up there? I can get a better look. Hup! Okay, nowhere to go from here, except across this bridge.
Hack silver. Awesome.
Think you can lower it?
$243 tightness. So the Saints won, and there are a lot of people around me that care, and kind of gets me more excited to be
Go.
Made it!
Boy,
Yes, sir. Wait! How are you gonna get across now? Good idea!
I'm stupid. I accidentally pressed triangle because I'm used to pressing triangle to interact with things.
Maybe this way? Father, will we see others on the road?
yes.
Friendly?
No.
They'll try and rob us?
Possibly. Yes.
Oh. Look. All this time, there's been a protection stave around our entire woods. But the stave's broken there. Did you cut those down?
She had marked the tree she wished used for her pyre.
Why'd she do that?
Come. No looking back now.
So, how long will it take to get to the mountain?
I do not know.
Before winter falls?
I do not know.
Okay, okay. They don't see us. Fire?
Wait for my mark.
Cool. Use around critters, point to off screen to enemies. Gold indicators to notify nearby enemies.
Keep the pressure on! If you want to help, distract them. Whoever is not my focus should be yours, but only when safe to do so.
I can do that. Look there. There's a Yetnar settlement ahead.
Yetnar,
Giants.
you can read the writing.
Some. Just the language's mother knew. But they're all sort of connected, so sometimes I can feel my way through stuff I shouldn't know. You know? Look up there!
Oh, there it is.
Anything else?
Space your shots. Speed costs accuracy.
Got it.
You have acquired the Hell's Touch light and runic attack gem. Customize your weapon to enable light and heavy runic attacks. ST8. That's tightness. Thanks. So there are a lot of different things that happened in olden days. Let's talk about that for a little while. I think that if people pay attention to the end a lot more, they can, I don't know, like, if you pay attention to the end more than, or what ends, I guess, you'll be able to understand what drives people to be able to do certain stupid things, like to come up with a reason why
How'd you do that? I think we can go through here.
Move.
Thanks. There's the mountain! Let's go!
Not yet.
It's fine! See? Father, help!
Hang on!
Hurry! I'm slipping!
Stay calm. Almost there.
That wasn't so bad.
Slow down. Your haste will cost us.
Sorry. More Draugr. But these aren't moving. Are they dead? I mean, more dead?
Boy.
Not dead, not dead!
difficulty is represented by the color and number on their health bar. Color and health outputs range from green to purple depending on how compared to Kratos.
Remember, accuracy over speed.
Oh, that was tight.
last one. Was I better?
Take even more time. Does not matter if you fire only once. Show me control. Read it.
Oh, this used to be a marketplace. The giants used to gather here to trade with the gods a long time ago. Wonder if Odin was ever here. Whoa! Above us! Something's breaking through! Something's breaking through the wall!
Oh shit, I died. So, things that happened in the past. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the tsunami that had recently happened. The reason why a lot of people don't realize that it's like, oh, I don't like communication and I really like to stay off my phone more than 8 hours a day. It's just like, the only reason why those people do that is because they don't have friends. They don't have friends, or their friends aren't important enough to them in their lives to be able to contact them when they need them. So I think that a lot of people don't realize this. A lot of people don't realize this. There have been so many times, I guess, in the life of civilization that we have decided to screw ourselves. There have been so many different new advances and different things like that. There's so many different new advances in technology and things like that. I really think that people would understand that I guess I want them to understand or think, I guess, that there's more out there to the life. And I think that if they really don't think about what's out there to start, I guess. To start, basically. Because there are so many things out there that could really exist, and a lot of them could even be described as mind-boggling. Things that defy physics. Modern day physics. Because I think that the way that we count and the way that we do different things in math is flawed. Our math is flawed because we are going to only go up to 10 dimensions. Counting with regular numbers, we only have a theory for 10 possible dimensions. Dimensions of it's just really, it goes into quantum mechanics, I think, and to actually come into contact with what's on or through a certain veil, or not really a veil, but more of a us experiencing our past, I guess. So what is time, I guess? What is time? What do we have the capacity for, too? Because if time in itself, if events seem to repeat themselves, you could say that I fucking died, man. It's bullshit. But the more you think about this stuff, the more you expand your horizons on what is possible. The more you think about zombies and the fact that nature will fight back eventually. If it hasn't already. The reason why, I think, is it kind of reduces capacity in some shape or form sometimes, as I'm throwing around my Alexa. It's fun. It reduces capacity in some forms to be able to make it highly unlikely that life that opposes it will live. Understandably so. The reason why most life is like that, most like life opposes something, is if they seem to resist. And when they resist, a force and or a person or a thing decides that stuff, that whatever you're thinking of, what's the word? Through its status quo, people decide their own fate before they've ever lived it. And that's where people sort of start to lean off on the stupid side. They try to change communities, and without anyone else, and without the community's permission sometimes. And that's who you want to stop. Because if it is a community, if we are a neighborhood, if we are a state or a city or a township or whatever we are, and a district, then to change that with something, unbeknownst to anyone else. But what is more pressing is the fact that once someone stands up and says this needs to be changed, there are people who have their own opinions about what should be and what shouldn't be. And I think that the more you look into where you're at in the situation, that's the cat. He wants to go outside, probably. The more you look at a situation where it seems to be at is we go up to an impasse. in some aspects of the ratio that is our, what's the word? Future. Underneath that ratio, meaning there is no such thing as staying in the same vessel for longer than, say, 100 years in this environment. But I think the more you look at it, the more you look at someone and see that we have the potential to be gods, to be different than what people actually want for us, other people want for us. What future do you want for yourself? It should be a choice. It should be a choice to live like that or not, and not have religion and or individualistic beliefs, because they are individualistic. Some people have different interpretations. Some people believe that is a metaphor. Some people believe it is reality, and different variations of both. People pick and choose their battles, but I think where everything stops making sense is after you've passed the threshold of messing around with genes. And I think it's the first thing we should have started. It's by, instead of melding ourselves with plastic and metal and things that won't stay. Somewhere in our evolutionary history, there is a pet peeve of someone's who used to live long ago. And that in itself, I think religion, and not just religion, but individualistically speaking, the people who ran religion would have ran it into the ground had it not been for a lot of different things and a lot of different experimentations that people did do that benefited mankind exponentially. Are we to choose immortality? Can we choose immortality? And if we do choose immortality, which path do we take to get there? To be able to find out to be able to realize your true potential. I know people like to review things and they like to have their own opinions about stuff. But where does that stop? Where does that merge? Because we are not a singularity. We are not so many some odd different forces pushing against each other in order to be able to create a singular energy source to where something else comes along and feeds off of it, and then do we get paid? If that were to happen, I don't think we would, because We are one energy source. We are one force in that energy source. One cog that makes it move and also in turn moves us. That is the reason why things defy modern physics, and that is the reason why things defy that in its explanation. To see the equation in your head, it's pretty amazing. And to really see past what we presume is the foreseeable future as far as whose birthday is it going to be next month, and see past all that to who wants to have unlimited birthdays. That seems more awesome to me. I really wish that people could understand, I guess, the stuff that I constantly proclaim in my own head. They'd be able to see it. It'd probably drive them absolutely bonkers. Absolutely insane. But believe me when I say that there are some big discoveries that people are about to embark on. So, taking into account all the fashions that people have tried to thwart discovery, but not forcing it, because you can't force it. You can't force discovery because within the aspect of discovery, the realm of possibility can only be completed if all parties can have the proper what's the word? If all parties upon the discovery can ever properly, and I'm not talking about like Egyptian stuff, I'm not talking about that stuff. I'm talking about like literal the keys to immortality. Like the keys to them. Like just literally the keys. Like you're like this is the key to immortality. You get it? It's the key. It's the key. Right there. That's the key. Is not ignoring your own body. That's the key to it. It's not some religion that's going to tell you that if you believe in one thing, that'll make you go through all of it. It's not that. Because people always ask for everlasting life. Understandably so. We are all beings of technical light and energy that have moved through matter and made it fleshy and different things because of the way that we evolved inside of another human being. But we had, before that consummation, before that whole process, we had to create something. We had to be something in order to be able to convey that message to the womb. We had to be anything, and not just created by something, but grabbed out of the air. Taken in some ways. We had to originate in some form or fashion before we ever originated between our father's legs or inside of a test tube, which is basically your father's legs. Oh. So before we ever were conceived, we ever were even originally even thought about, we existed in a realm of quantum measurement. We existed somewhere on that scale. We existed somehow inside of that realm as per beginning life, and how we evolved to be able to become or to be indoctrinated into what a person eats, or how a person does something, or how a person is, and then become that thing, a sperm. Then through that, the DNA of our father, or the best parts about our father and mother, or the worst parts about our father and mother, or a little bit in between, and a little bit of both. Because the more you choose not to be defined by a generalistic term, the more you seek to not be defined by what is, and define yourself as what could be. And that's kind of dangerous, but also kind of exciting. There are two different ways that place can go. Because everyone knows that gender is on a spectrum. A spectrum of reality, a spectrum of anything, a concept of who we are as people. We are not just different versions, so why could we even be individualistic and not always have the same fingerprint? That would also mean that cloning is technically available through human beings. It may seem hard to conceptuate, but if you could prepare the same circumstances with the same vitamins and different things that a person would eat in order to become fertile twice, if you could create the same instances of that person. If you could create the same situations for two different things, you could technically create the same kind of human being. That technically is more a true cloning than it ever is, because cloning technically isn't cloning. So you have to know that. Cloning technically is merely taking the same cell and taking a piece off of it and then adding an egg. Technically, it's not the same piece. There's that right there. So technically, there are a million, trillion, quadrillion, there's a bunch of skin cells on you. Someone could take a piece of your skin cell, make a protein from that skin cell, then put it inside of an egg and see what came out. Grow it in a lab, grow it in a test tube, and all that other different stuff. But technically, it's still not cloning, okay? Because you're not taking that exact same piece. Through people, cloning would be more of a thing. Because you can create the same person twice by twins. It's possible to clone, to have the same embryo break off into two pieces and then create two different living beings. It's happened before. So there you go. There's one thing about science that science doesn't know about itself. It's more about cloning than anyone. Yeah. So there you go. Technically, cloning isn't cloning. Human reproduction is cloning. In some way, shape, or form. And also, in order for me to be able to exist in this universe, I would have had to come from somewhere. Or come from something. Like a murder. Or something. Some of the DNA that got on someone's hands. Some sort of murder. That's a joke. I'm just trying to make myself seem more excited about my past, even though I'm boring as shit. So, I think the more interesting that this stuff gets, the more easily people would start to understand that they're not making or helping humanity by hindering us from gene therapy or anything like that. They would realize that it exists within us. So why can it exist without us? And it's like it's selfish and also I put my fucking shield up. I didn't do that. Shitty bitches. So, turns out I wasn't ready. With every person you take away, you don't realize that that person keeps living. In the quantum realm, you don't realize that the ghosts only exist because of dead things, because of dead people, because of dead stuff that happened before that forgot what it was and then became somewhat of a virus. That is the reason why usually people die of Ebola when there is something happening a mile down, like someone shitting in the water supply or bleeding in the water supply or getting murdered in the water supply. That's the reason why a lot of people die from a lot of sepsis and things like that. They don't realize it's sepsis most of the time. It's there's an Ebola outbreak. Oh my God. It's mostly because of a person becoming septic and then putting it on other people. These viruses, I believe, are not one individualistic thing, more of a company or a family of Israeli people who are terrible as fuck, who murder people on a whim. The reason why they break people and they terrify people and stuff like that. Alright, I died. Alright, so the reason why these people are always thought of as like, oh, they're different kinds, they're so different, and they do terrible shit. There's people who do terrible shit out there that experiment on people and then sell the results to the highest bidder, even though there's a lot of different people who don't realize that it's not freedom that they're experiencing. It's true subservitude, codependence. And codependence is a dysfunctional relationship that is brought on by a menial, a menial substandard way of living. Substandard is not the way that we live, okay? It has nothing to do with the way the Americans live. It has everything to do with the way that some governments run their country. When some governments run their country and have a war to be able to get a certain group of people who they don't like out, because they do this from time to time, because they want to, because they plan for it. They don't just plan to have a war. They plan exactly what to do to be able to make sure that people don't get to sell their goods on the street and their fruit or their whatever goes bad. The reason why a lot of times they do this isn't because of some American oil thing. It has everything to do with not just oil, okay, but it has everything to do with all their gold and jewels. And there are plenty of gold and jewels under those sands. Under those sands where there used to be a bunch of people who really, and also precious metals that sometimes haven't even been discovered before. And this is the reason why. The reason why the sands happened is because not only was there a great flood, but there was a civilization that lived amongst the desert and areas of all those different places. There were explosions, okay, because of irradiated materials being trapped inside of the ground thing. They set up pressurized tanks, and once those tanks got punctured, well, i.e. explorers and different things like that, those nuclear explosions happened, and there were catastrophic meltdown of different things, and that's literally probably the reason why there's sand even to begin with. This happened probably a few million years ago, and people were more advanced than we actually possibly even could ever even amount to, because of the way that you look at what happened and how the sands of different deserts coincide with explosions from not nuclear tests, from underground nuclear materials. Okay? Because nuclear materials happened before any of our civilizations ever even came about. It existed in nature, and it also exploded in nature, and in some ways messed up the groundwater. Okay? When it messed up the groundwater, and over millions and millions of years, we adapted and we evolved to be able to take that radiation, and in some ways probably don't even remember, as far as our own geological survey goes, how our civilization used to even exist, and this civilization even, because there are plenty of deserts in the but that's literally, if you were to look down into the crust of the soil of a bunch of different places, there would be a big amount of I'd say irradiated materials. People say that has to do with the tectonic plates, and that's the reason why, because it's not the water. It's not the water. Because if the water goes into the ground, and then there's more water, it's just, people say it's the water, but it's not the water. It's not the water, trust me, because water dries up from the surface way before it gets to the ground. It's not the groundwater that made all that stuff happen. It was irradiated materials that went benign, okay? And it has a lot to do with a bunch of different stuff that people don't quite understand yet, but I have a concept of. And I would love to tell people, but then all they would do is disprove it. All they would try to do is disprove it instead of appreciating it for what it is. But as per carbon dating, we have a situation of about 10,000 years of recorded history. 10,000. And that recorded history could be in a series of scrutiny met situations, and also a lot of people who don't believe that there are a bunch of different things that need to be shown. And that's why I wanted to get into the Vatican, because they have those records, and that's why they keep them under wraps. I never trust religion. I never trust anyone, but I never trust religion even more. Because not only will they never allow people to look at those documents, but they will also never even acknowledge where or how any of those miracles or whatever, anything, whatever, or any scientific notion of what those things could ever even notice. Because people themselves who have grown old and tired and all those different things, they want to die. The Pope wants to die. He wants to live his life out, and then he wants to just be in his casket. And then he wants to, that's what they want to do to him, because that people have accepted their fate, and I don't accept my fate. I never do. I never accept it. I'll look at you and I'll be like, I'm good. Just don't accept your fate, and you'll find a solution for most of your problems. But if you really want to be better off, then always try again. No matter if you lose the funding, or there'll always be more funding. Remember that. But it's the work you do now. So, within the confines of your own real consciousness, make a conscious decision to not just think about what the next thing you're going to watch is, or what the next thing you're going to do is, but try to make a conscious decision to be able to think about something a little bit higher than yourself. And once that decision is made, try to look at what's beyond that, and what's beyond that too. Try to look at a whole bunch of different situations, and you can create a scenery of a bunch of different places and a bunch of different things that'll basically show you how man traveled and traversed this world before even cars were ever even around. Realize that it'll bring about not only the history of what people would call the Bible, or just a bunch of things that people put together to be able to tell them their history, or not even their history, but a life lesson, I guess. But realize that Babylon was too early cultivated. that Israel, they didn't allow for water to come back to the place before they started making communities. That a bunch of different people didn't allow themselves to be able to realize that they needed certain things in order to survive. And who knows, maybe people would have been lighter or darker or more anything. Who cares? Doesn't really matter. Realize this, that you are your own one-person bomb squad. You can defuse situations that happen in your own life, or thinking that you're bored enough to be able to just remember that I'm not just talking to myself when I say this. You're important, and you matter to more than just one person. And if you want to be a pussy about it and say things like, oh, that doesn't even mean anything, or something like that, then just realize that you're the one. You're important. You deserve to be important. And you deserve not to feel damaged or broken. Have a good day.